Hi, good afternoon, class. Today let's go ahead and get into our vocab lesson for today. We're going to be learning 5 new words. And I hope that you can add these words to your vocabulary, that you can use them daily, well, maybe not daily, in your life, and that these will benefit your reading to come, and that you can better comprehend and understand these meanings. So the first word and I'm looking at my PowerPoint right here. So the first word is mutualism. Now mutualism is a noun. Class, repeat the word mutualism. Very good. Now, the definition of mutualism is a form of symbiosis in which the organisms depend on each other for protection and nourishment. Now you're probably thinking, that's a whole bunch of words, I'm not really sure what that means. Well, here's a bit of a simpler definition for you. This means 2 different creatures perform 2 different tasks, but both are receiving benefits. Okay, so let's look at the first sentence, example sentence that I have, so it can maybe make more sense. Okay, the sentence says, crops grow in the ground through mutualism of the worms by having them fertilize the soil, which in turn provides nutrients for the crops. So, it's a big sentence. Let's try and break it down. So what I'm looking for are 2 specimens or 2 creatures. So here in this sentence, I see crops and I see worms. Now the worms are emptying themselves, yes, onto this soil. And the crops are benefiting from this because the worms' excretions are fertilizing the soil, and in turn the crops are getting nutrients from this soil. So both are winning, both are receiving a benefit, so this would be an example of mutualism. Hannah, can you read the second sentence for me? Okay, how many of us have a friend like this that is always willing to take you somewhere and just says like, hop in, I'll take you, let's go. Okay, I feel like I'm the other way. I'm usually that friend that's doing the driving. So in this sentence, we have 2 people. We have Jenna and Abby. And Abby is receiving the benefit of getting the ride to go get coffee, and Jenna is receiving the benefit of getting a free coffee. So in this sentence we see that it is an example of mutualism because both people are benefiting, and kind of balances out for Jenna because of the gas money too. The second word we have is psychoactive. So first we had mutualism and now we have psychoactive. Class? Very good. This word is an adjective, and it means relating to the mind. Now, some of you may have already heard this word before. You're probably like, oh yeah, I know it has something to do with the mind. Yes, usually when you hear this word, it's going to be talking about a drug or a medication. Another version of this definition says it's a word that is applied to medications that can change a person's mood by affecting the way the brain and nervous system work. So the way this happens is that the chemicals in these medications are what causes the mind to think differently, or for the patient's mood to change. It's the chemicals in this medication. Okay, so let's look at this first sentence to help us understand this word a little bit more. The first sentence says, people taking psychoactive medications often experience changes in the way they perceive things. So, as I had just explained, these chemicals in these psychoactive medications are what causes people to see the world differently or have changes in their ways of thinking. So this would be an example, or this is a correct way that psychoactive would be used. Class, can someone read the second sentence for me? Yes, sir. Okay, very good. Now, this sentence is saying that because of the new technology, because of a rise in studies and the new tools that we have, scientists can better understand how to use these drugs and what they do to people. So, the psychoactive drugs that relate to the mind. So this was the word psychoactive, class. Very good. Now, so far we've had mutualism, we've had psychoactive. The third word, this is probably a word you've never heard before. It's vermilion, class. Vermilion. Okay, very good. This word is a noun, and it means a vivid reddish orange, or a bright red pigment consisting of mercuric sulfide. Actually, kind of like my shirt. I didn't even plan that, but yes, a vivid reddish orange. Now, what are some things that you can think of off the top of your head in this world and earth that have this vermilion color, a reddish orange color? Some things that I think of are the sun, lava, or magma, and any flower, like flowers on my shirt. Flowers can be any color. Let's look at this first example to help us better understand this word. It says the teenage boy was embarrassed of the vermilion volcano on his face. Oh no, we know what this is. Vermilion volcano? This seems to be like acne. It's probably very vivid, very bright, very embarrassing, and I would not want to be this boy right now. Honestly, I feel bad for him. Hannah, can you read the second sentence for me? Thank you. So, the way that you actually pronounce this name in the second sentence is Edvard Munch. He's the one who painted the famous painting, The Scream. You've probably seen that before. Now, in this sentence, vermilion is describing the colors of the sunset that he painted. Now, if you look at the picture, there's that vivid reddish orange color that he used to portray the sun. And that's how vermilion is being used in this sentence. So, class, that was vermilion. So, we've had mutualism, we've had psychoactive, vermilion. The fourth word we're going to learn is loquacious. Class, loquacious. I don't know why, but this word just makes me giggle sometimes. I really don't know why, but it does. Now, this word is an adjective, and it means full of excess talk. We would say talkative. Now, we probably all know someone who is loquacious. Someone who's always running their mouth. Someone who can't seem to ever be quiet and just be still. Let's look at this first sentence. It says that Martha may appear quiet in social surroundings, but once she gets to know you, she is really loquacious. Now, how many of you may say that when people first meet you, they think you're shy at first, but you're actually very outgoing? Okay, I would put myself in this category too. But here in this sentence, not only is Martha outgoing, but she's loquacious. She talks a lot. She's probably talking about herself. Not all the time, but most of the time loquacious people are speaking about themselves or only things that they would like to talk about. So the second sentence says, even though Henrietta apologized to the teacher, she was still kicked out of class for being too loquacious. So here we have a warning from Henrietta. Isn't that right, class? We don't want to be loquacious, talking excessively, getting kicked out of class. We should learn from Henrietta and her mistakes. How kind of Henrietta to give us this example. So, that was loquacious, full of excess talk. The final word that we have, the fifth and final word that we have, is fugacious. Class, fugacious. So, these are the ones we've had so far. Mutualism, psychoactive, vermilion, loquacious, and now fugacious. Now, some of them kind of sound similar, so try to keep them straight in your mind and not get confused. Fugacious is an adjective which means lasting a short time. Other words that describe this are fleeting or brief, something that's there for a short period of time. Let's look at this first sentence to help us understand it. It says, perhaps it is their fugacious nature that makes memories so special. we've all heard the saying that time flies when you're having fun, right? Okay, and that does seem to be true, you know? Some of the best memories here on earth are some of the most quickest. For example, I can think of watching a sunset or sunrise or seeing a rainbow in the sky. These are things that happen for a very short period of time and then they're gone, just like that. Henry, can you read the second sentence for me? Okay, very good. So this second sentence is summarizing the verse, James 4:14. And in this verse, it says that life is fugacious. So God wants us to live our life here on earth purposefully. So if we were to look at it, this little portion right here would be our life on earth. But the rest of my wingspan, and even greater than I can stretch, would be eternity. So often we focus on this little piece of our lives right here on earth when we have this whole rest of the part that I can't even reach and stretch. That's what we should be focusing on. God wants us to be eternally minded and think on the things of Him and not live for this world and the things that vanish away, that are here for a brief time. So God encourages us to keep looking up and to not waste our time and to be busy about the things of God and benefiting His kingdom. So that was the word fugacious, class. Okay, so now we have these big five big words, and they're probably getting confused in your mind. You're probably like, okay, what am I supposed to do with these now? Well, now we're going to do a little bit of practice. So I'm going to show you on the board positive and negative examples. I'm going to pop a sentence on the board and I want you to tell me if this is a negative or a positive example, okay? Let's look at this first sentence. Hannah, can you read this sentence for me? Okay, very good. This is a kind of a long sentence, so let's look. For mutualism, we're going to look for two specific things. So here we see the bird and we see a horse. Now the bird is scaring off the flies of this on the horse, and the horse is protecting the bird. So we see that both of these creatures are benefiting and both are receiving benefits. So this would be an example of mutualism. It's a win-win situation. So would this be a positive or negative example? Positive, that's right. Okay. Now, the second sentence says, the prolonged and extensive class period seemed fugacious to me. Now, is this a positive or a negative example? Well, let's recall the definition of fugacious. Fugacious meant lasting a short time, right? So in this description of this class, it says that it was prolonged and extensive. Now, if I'm sitting in a class that I describe as prolonged and extensive, I don't feel like it's going by like that. I don't feel like it's short. I feel like this is something that I would have to endure and sit through and be like, when is this going to be over? When can I leave? Hopefully none of you are thinking that about this class right now, but so this would be a negative example because fugacious is not being used properly here. The third sentence we have, can someone read this one for me? Yes, sir. Okay, this one is a little